turn that down just a little bit. That's probably pretty good right there. All right. Where are we at here? Put a little streaming avatar up here. So, what are we working on today? We are getting ready for the courses. Let me see which thing I want to work on next. Oh, I got to get the worksheet together. Worksheet's coming along. Get rid of these links. Probably some good useful links that we might need. I have an assignment. It's going to be a little different. All right. So, if anybody's got any questions about what's going on with the courses, they are coming up here very shortly. I think the security engineering course is kicking off in the next few minutes. Probably, 3 p.m. today, so that's about an hour and a half. I wanted to get on and kind of let people know that we're hanging out and there's a place to go and do this Linux stuff if you want to. And then the 16-week automation course is coming up, and the automation course is going to be focusing on Ansible, Bash, and Python.
Wow, over a year.
Over a year, yep, 19 months now. Long time, less than T. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. But yeah, I'm just kind of cleaning up the last of the stuff. The automation course, we're kind of taking our time through it. I don't want to say we're moving super slow or anything, but we're gonna go. Oh, where is this at? Oh, this is my lab book. Okay, so I'm getting labs built, and I'm getting other stuff built for today. I am gonna put in. I gotta update the project. Yeah, so I do have a little bit of time to work on that stuff still. I'll have it after the security engineering course. We'll do that for about 45 minutes or so and get people aligned to what the course looks like. I'm gonna be kind of judging the participation in these courses based on how much we have people doing the discussions, right? So there's discussions. They are required for people that want to get the little certificate at the end. We obviously don't really have any yet. Looks like somebody might have posted something here. No, it just shows that I changed the title. But there's stuff here, and you know the reason we do that, it might seem like, oh, Scott's trying to make you have a little more busy work. No, it's like there's a value in seeing how you and other engineers think about things and how you come to conclusions and that kind of stuff. So I think that will help some people. It's definitely a way to look at learning where you take part in it with other people and work through it with other people. So I tell people all the time the courses are free, so obviously people that choose not to do that do not have to, but if you want to get the little certificate at the end, you do have to do those things. Okay. Oh shoot, I gotta clean this up. This is our worksheet for automation. Yep. So that has our questions. So these are the actual discussion post questions that we're doing for this week. Like, what is automation? And specifically, we're going to talk about how it ties into these other things that we do. That's part of the discussion posts. And discussion posts are designed to like get you guys thinking about this stuff, right? And then the other part is like, what is meant by a trigger in automation? What's your definition of a trigger? What are the types of triggers or that you can read or define? How would you what would you think a trigger would be in your world? And then where would you place the triggers to positively affect your ability to build or administer Linux systems? So that's going to be a big focus of the first week. Again, most of the first week is just going to be aligning us to what we're doing the rest of the 16-week course and getting everybody kind of into their systems, make sure that they can do the labs, right? We've got labs up in Killer Coda that we can use. Killer Coda is this awesome site that gives you free Linux boxes to play with, so that's going to be a big part of it. I gotta obviously add definitions and then some notes and stuff in there, so I'll get this going. I'll be writing this up here soon. I was gonna do it, but then I was like, well, I'll hop on and stream a little bit. Maybe I'll do it while we stream, who knows? Just depends on where we find ourselves here, what kind of questions people ask, what we end up doing. So yeah, there's Discord here. It's just us kicking off the thing. Bunch of events starting up again, probably about an hour and a half from now. We've got the security engineering course, new round. And then in a few hours after that, so there's a little bit of a break in between, people that want to do the automation course, that's going to be starting. So, okay. Other than that, there's always kind of events and stuff going on in the environment. All right. So definitions, terminology. Let's see what definitions and stuff that I have in my little presentation here. So let me move this off to the side for a second. And what are things that I'm talking about here? Obviously all that, that's our thing. I guess it would be engineering, automation, triggers, scientific method would be good to know. If you don't know the scientific method or have never worked through it before. And then engineering walks through the concept of building things that cycle. Say deviation. These are all terms that people would want to know for this. Deviation. Let's do manual. So you guys know I'm just grabbing definitions and terminology. Let's go with code commits, event-driven system design, and then alerts, generating thresholds, high water marks, or other monitoring. So there's, you know, definitions and things here now that are going to kind of come from our talk, right? Things that we're going to talk about, things that we're going to work on, tools that we're going to use, consistency, timeliness, and DevOps type stuff. All right. So what I need to do then is come back over here, come back into our doc that we were just in, which is right here. And probably want to add some links, some things that I think would be useful for people to go spend additional time here. And some of those links are going to look like this. So let's do this. Let's look here. Serverless land. Serverless land is great for event-driven architecture. I would say another one that's pretty big or useful would be kind of the we're talking about different types of ways that we're getting into having events kick off. So alerts and monitoring are also part of that. So I might say another one to go look at is like Influx DB, Wayfair, and there's a pretty good case study on how Wayfair uses it. Do we want to use this is the, yeah, let's see if this one's good. I think this is a pretty good one because again it shows how these tools can kind of work, right? And then they have, yeah, kind of their monitoring, right? And then another one that I think would probably be good would be like AWS MSK. Let's see if we can get a blog or anything for, so managed services for Kafka are how we kick events in and out, which also would be inside of serverless land. But let's see what their blogs. They got a big data blog. So MSK, so managed services for Kafka. And they've got a bunch of stuff like that. So we might just grab this and say Kafka event bus blogs, right? And I always try to give, so I try to give you guys as you're doing these courses or these things with me, like obviously we're going to talk about the things we're going to talk about for the time that we do it, right? That's what we do in the group, and then we have activities and things for people to work through, discussions, worksheets, labs, those kind of things. But there's also like, everybody says they want to go learn stuff on their own, right? Everybody says they're going to learn stuff and read stuff. And I say, okay, well, here's all the stuff, right? Here's all these things that are out there to maybe tie the stuff back. Because like at the end of the day, how you learn, you're gonna look at something like this and go, nah, that doesn't click. But maybe you're a systems guy, right? Maybe you're a systems guy and you deal with all kinds of things happening inside your servers, and you look at dashboards all day, and triggering something from a dashboard may make a lot of sense to you. And you're like, oh, okay, wait, so we could just trigger that high threshold thing from the dashboard and then have that kick off our automation? Oh, that's awesome. That's exactly the way that I'm used to doing it. And somebody may show you later that there's quicker ways to do it, sure, but the point is you kind of go with what you know. A lot of times, especially engineers, I find engineers really stick in their ways a lot. And I do think that this is a great one. So then I'm going to give an example here of in what we call like the digging deeper. And it would be, go to one of the patterns. And so one of our digging deeper assignments would be go to serverless and can you implement one of the serverless architecture serverless So are there any other tools you might use? Some of you guys are very familiar with Pulumi. People always tell me about this Pulumi tool. It's a great tool for maybe building some of the stuff. Terraform's a huge one. People are big fans of Terraform. But the Cloud Development Kit or AWS CDK, right? Or, yeah, I think that's Cloud Deployment Kit or, yeah, CDK. You can do it through PowerShell. If you're a PowerShell guy, you can do it with Python. And then with Python, you need Boto 3 to talk to because that's the module that it uses. If you want to use a particular service, AWS Code Commit, I think, is getting phased out. But they used to have triggers where it could go do all kinds of things, run through step functions. Step functions can exist for a whole year. They can wait a whole year to deploy their crap. So anytime you need something like with Lambda, Lambda's got a 15-minute timeout. So if you have anything longer, step functions are typically what they recommend, right? Or sending something to an event bus and then pulling it out on the other side. Anyways, the point is there's all kinds of things that people could be doing around that. Where'd the rest of this go? So I had some other stuff up here. Where's the auto course? All right, so I've got the labs. I'm building one big lab book. So this is just one big... right? I have one big automation lab book that I've been building, so there's just going to be all the labs are going to be in there, and I'll probably just keep releasing it each week, and then the guys that are building the course will probably just pull it out of there. But for sure I'm going to have the worksheet done, and I'm going to have my presentation done. My presentation is done, really. And then I'm going to get the last little stuff going for I'll get the lab, because the labs this week are going to be very, very basic, very just get people aligned with the course, get people ready, get people kind of going. If anybody needs the Discord, it's right here on Twitch side of things. If you need it on the YouTube side of things, here it is as well. There you go. All right. But yeah, it's coming up in a few hours. Security engineering course is going to start. This is round 2 of it, so we already have everything recorded. So technically you could run off ahead of that course if you wanted to. But each week I'm going to be dropping in the chats again so that you guys can do the discussion posts and stuff. Discussion posts are pretty benign. I think they're pretty straightforward. The requirement for discussion, so let's say Security Unit 1, what is security? Describe the CIA triad. What is the relationship between authority, will, and force as they relate to security? And then what are the types of controls and how do they relate to the above question, right? And some of those like will make sense as you study your security. If you don't do anything with security, that might be like, well, what is this, a cop? Well, in some ways, we have things that are written up as security controls. Like we have administrative controls, which are now managerial and operational controls. But we have operational controls that say you can't do that, but they don't stop you in any other way. Well, if you've compromised my system and got on it, you're probably throwing me a big fat, middle finger and doing whatever the hell you want. You don't care about my administrative or directive controls. You don't give a damn about that stuff because you already broke in. You already knew you were breaking law. You didn't care if you broke it a little more. So, are you going to respect my authority? And then there's just a will of if you're going to will something different, and then forces. I can make things that are lines in the ground become hard, fast things, especially in Linux systems where you can't cross them, but that's not always useful, right? Sometimes we have to have a little bit of latitude within systems to move around and do things. So there's that. There's the other one. So people have to do one response to my question, and then they have to do 2 responses to other people, right? That's how our courses go. There's also find a STIG or compliance requirement, and we're going to do STIGs the whole time. So by the time you've done watching either the first one or doing the first lab, you're going to know what the STIG compliance requirements are. And you can find one that you don't necessarily agree with for a service or a server build, or maybe you've used MariaDB a lot and you get in there and you're like, I don't really think MariaDB is a great thing to lock down in that way. I don't believe in just locking it down to just one host able to communicate with it. I think it should be able to communicate across the network. And I say that's fine, but you got to be able to kind of defend it. What's the STIG or compliance trying to do? What's the category and type of control? And then if you defend why it's not necessary, what do you think you can do? Like let's say that we allow MariaDB to be connected to from anywhere in our network. Could we at least maybe enforce some type of security certificate communication? So now, yeah, you can connect over here, but you have to have a certificate from our PKI, right? So now I've tied it into our security. It's bordering on what we would call zero trust because we're using something you could only get or check out from within my network. And those kind of things I think are kind of good from that perspective. All right, so that's that. And then the automation one. So here's the first question of the automation course. It says, if you've done the previous courses, how would you define administration, like Linux systems administration type stuff? And I said, if you haven't, just find a blog, link it for us, and explain how they define administration of Linux servers or Linux systems. How would you define that? And then if you've done the previous course, how do you define security? If you haven't, find a blog and then link it for us that explains how you define Linux and security, or security for Linux systems, right? And then when I said, when you think about automation, how does it tie into the things you do on a daily basis? So if you do one of those 2 things, or if you're thinking about computers and getting into that and you're not in it yet, how does automation tie into what you do? Is there any automation you have? Do you guys sometimes set like a pot of coffee to be ready to kick off at 5 something in the morning, so when you wake up it's already brewing? I know people that do that. Some people, there's all kinds of things, right? There's all kinds of things that I think are automations that you might have. Do you have stuff automatically draft out of your bank, right? That's a very common thing for people. In fact, I would argue that's what most businesses try to push nowadays. They try to get you on a subscription, right? So that either you forget about it or you don't see it. But anyway, so what is automation and how would you think about it in the systems world? We've got our definitions, right? We've got the things that we're going to talk about with automation, right? I've got all kinds of things about automation here in the course. But, if you're going to do the discussions with us, what does that kind of look like? And then for this other one is, what is a trigger? What is the definition of triggers? And what are the types of triggers that you read about or can define? I should probably put about in there. And I said, where would you place these triggers to positively affect your ability to build or administer Linux systems? So if you knew that there were triggers out there that you could have, and you started thinking about how to build them into your system, where would you place them? All right. So there's that. That's kind of what's coming up on the course. That's what's out there. Those are already live. So those are out there ready for people to use or dig into. What else do we got? Our Linux systems are up. Let's go check that. Let's go just hit, let's do bang 1108. That'll run our last command in the environment. How's it going, S-Swine? Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. Kafka's still down. I got to get the Kafka system up for later on when we're doing event-driven, but for now we're good. I'll get that Kafka node up. He's just been down for... that node's tired for now. I do want him up, though, so that we can do some of our other stuff. All right. Well, let's see. That was my main goal, was to get these things kind of going and started. Worksheet there, links, terms, useful tools. We're not, sometimes I leave these empty because I let you guys fill them out as we go. Unit 1. What was the Unit 1 lab called? Let me see if I can find that here. Oh, that's the automation guide. Gotta get that thing done too. That's still not correct. Oh yeah, that was automated tools. Yeah, hold on. We gotta update the fields. There we go. This one is called automation tools, installation and execution. So I wanted to make sure that that's done. We don't need to start downloading this stuff, because that's for the other course. We got the digging deeper updated, and the reflection questions are going to stay the same for the first week for sure. S1, we're not, so it'll be much more clear. I'm kind of jumping around right now, but the course does start in about, so the security engineering course starts in an hour. The automation course starts in, I don't know, what is that, 3 hours? So I have a little bit of a break in between. But I'm not 100%, like I'm kind of not torn, but I'm somewhere in the middle of whether or not I'm going to record the automation course. I know people will ask me for it if I don't, so I might record it. If I do record it, it'll typically be on Sunday mornings, but probably not this Sunday, because tomorrow's going to be hectic. The wife's got me driving back down to Tucson. We got a big family party. And look, guys, I mean, like, we do it once a month. We go to different people's houses, this and this and this. And Tucson is about 2.5 hours, almost 3 hours out of Phoenix. So it's a bit of a drive there and a drive back, you know? But the reason I bring that up is because, like, I'm not going to get a lot done tomorrow, unfortunately. So I don't know that I'm going to record everything tomorrow. Maybe I could record it Monday night. I think guys would probably be okay with that too. But, you know, if we record it, it'll be kind of like the other two courses. They'll get their own, what is that called? They'll get their own little playlist on YouTube, and then you guys can just watch them over there whenever you want. You know, we got quite a few just little playlists on YouTube that are good. And I have a lot more stuff I need to record. I mean, I need to redo all the high performance compute stuff and add all kinds of other components to that. Just a lot to do, and it's a lot to work on. So I committed though to the 16-week automation course, so we're definitely doing that one. And I'm definitely going to keep plugging away at this thing. That's why I said it, not recorded but accessible in Twitch VODs. Yeah, Twitch has VODs, but I don't, I do actually keep things. I think Twitch keeps them for 60 days, but I do have those set to only be for people that are subscribed. I don't remember exactly why I set that. I think somebody recommended that to me early on, so I just leave it like that. And mainly I do that because then I don't have to point people to more than one place. I do remember that was one of the reasons, was I can just point everybody over towards YouTube, and then normally when I do things, it's all saved over on YouTube. But yeah, Twitch does delete VODs for people every what, 60 days or so. Which is actually really funny because normally when I'm not a Twitch partner, so normally it's only every like 13 days or 14 days or something. But if you have Prime, which is completely unrelated, not Prime, Turbo, I have Turbo, which is completely unrelated in any way. But if you have that Turbo, then it does 60 days of VODs. And I'm like, I never got that because nobody really uses Turbo. Well, or Turbo isn't necessarily for streamers, you know what I'm saying? It's for like regular people who just don't want ads on Twitch. Which, by the way, if you ever have Turbo and then you watch something like one of their live events or something, that'll piss you off because you still get ads. And you're like, I thought I wasn't getting ads with you guys. But they're like, well, it's the ads from the company. And it's like, well, shouldn't that company be your ads? Shouldn't it be, you know? But that's not how they do it. So, like if you ever watch a football game or something and you have Turbo, you still get to watch ads. So, fun fact if you didn't know that. All right. We have a late night bash study group. I don't know if I'm going to run that or kick that off, but that typically gets kicked off by somebody, and then you guys can hang out down there and work on stuff. That's later on tonight. Writer's room is tomorrow at 6, and then we typically have ProLUG lab maintenance. I will be, let me think, will I be back for that? I'm like 90% sure I'll be back for this by 7. Let me think, when are we leaving their house? I think lunch is at 1:30. We're gonna stay for a few hours, come back. This will be close, but if I need to, I'll cancel this. But typically on lab maintenance, we just turn stuff up. Soon Amazon will put their company ads when we pay for Prime Video. So I have Prime Video, and I actually did get ads up until a few weeks ago, and I just finally paid the $1.99 a month or whatever. I hadn't done it because out of principle, I'd fought against it, but company ads, yeah. That Prime Video thing, yeah, that's always been a scam, right? You would have to watch ads to watch. The only thing you didn't have to watch ads for were things that you had paid for yourself already. So if you'd already bought a movie or something, they didn't slide ads into that. But if it was something that was, in air quotes, included in Prime, they would. That's kind of annoying, right? So, all right, lab maintenance and then bash study group again. That's the one. Is that starting up later? I don't know why that shows up down here again. Maybe it's just, oh, I guess that's the next time it's coming up because it already happened, so that'll be next thing. I will note this one thing for people that are planning on starting the courses with us. They do start today, so you would want to start getting ready to get down in there. But on the 4th of October, so in 2 weekends, I will be out of town, so I will be missing the 3rd week. And what we'll do probably is we'll just push it out. That's what we've done before in courses, so we'll give people a little more time. Yeah. Back in the day, yeah, I used to always, I could just skip over. I didn't have ads of any type. But now, yeah, you have ads unless you pay like $1.99 or $2.99. It's some number that was so low that I was like annoyed that they were even asking me for it. But then I finally just the other day, like I hadn't done it out of principle for a long time. And then I finally like did it because I was just like, screw it. I'll do this stupid thing. All right, so here's how people connect to the labs. That'll be important. Keys can be dropped in the ProLUG lab environment channel. Let's ignore all of those so it doesn't come up. Reboot servers when you're done. Good. We have the targeting correctly here. These are how you target the different nodes. That'll be good. I am going to map. I'm going to say for additional lab capacity, use killer coda. That lab mapping is as follows. It's target node will be that. And then up here I need to fix all of these. There we go. All right, so that looks good there. That looks at least acceptable for that. For additional, let's indent these for a little bit of readability here. Additional lab capacity, use killercoda.com. So if you guys don't know about killercoda.com, that lab mapping is as follows. There we go. For additional lab capacity, use Killer Coda. So if you guys have not used Killer Coda, it looks like this. It's pretty straightforward for most people. Jump into Killer Coda. People that are doing the course will know how to get in here because they've been in there. And you just go to like any of the labs, but let's say Ansible, because you were learning some Ansible automation stuff. And I'm just going to highly recommend during the course that people go through this on their own as they kind of work through it. But let's just say this first one, and we were going to install Ansible and do all the steps. Let's say you should have a node 01. Let's install Ansible. Make that a little bigger so you guys can see it. We'll check the Ansible version. We'll make sure that we can target node 01. Make sure that we can see all the things that we need to, you know, just practice, make sure everything is on the up and up for when we're doing it here in a little bit. Maybe I'll do the markdown directly for the writers. Anyway, so I'll definitely get the course. Vivana, how's it going over on the Twitch side? We are just kind of hanging out, and I'm showing you guys some stuff and working through getting ready for the courses here in a little bit. The security course is a little simpler because, like, obviously I do that security stuff all the time. That's like part of my day job. I work in there quite a bit. So that's stuff that I kind of work through. And we've already done that course once, so this will just be us going through it again for people that want to try it and get some chops in the security space, know what it looks like to work with a information systems security officer, look at like what it looks like to report up to some other teams, right? The days of us just securing our Linux boxes and being like, no, they're all good, and everybody going, well, cool, no, the Linux guy said they're good. Those days are kind of gone, right? They were 15, 20 years ago in the industry. Everybody just believed that we had the systems locked down. But now, because, you know, the CISOs and CEOs, those people have to be very involved. That's the Chief Information Security Officer and Chief Executive Officer. Those people have to be in the know of what's going on. They have to know that the systems are secure. So, like, we have to report these things up. We have to prove things. We have to talk to governance, risk, and compliance teams. We need to make sure these things are good. So let's go look at our version of Ansible, and then let's throw that in a file. But mainly what I want to show is we would VI, you know, root hosts, and then in here we would make servers, and we would say control plane and node 01, and then we would Ansible dash, we would say Ansible servers dash I root hosts, and then we would say dash M shell dash A uptime. And this would presumably, I'll move that up just a little bit so you guys can see what I did. That would go ahead and work with connecting to both of those nodes and doing all the things that we needed to, because we had, we had the proper inventory and the proper way of doing everything that we needed to. So that's going to be my overflow capacity. We won't need to mess with that. But I do want that in the kind of lab guide, so that when I allude to it in the actual labs, people can go, oh, okay, that's what's happening. You know, in the lab, that's how we connect over. And then the labs are designed to have an engineer verify and execute their automation tools in a controlled environment. So this first lab is really just going to be focused on getting that done, getting people to execute in their environment, and be able to get the base parts of their tools working that they're going to touch. So if I were to come back over to, where is that? That's the lab book. That's the lab guide. I don't see the, I don't know where it is. I need my syllabus. Go pull up another document, another doc. I do a fair amount at work and at the college with documents, so I'm pretty okay with working on. By the way, that's our connection for how you get in with our syllabus, right? Use it on the internet, connect in on port 22. Our Bastion system is ProLUG and that's a user at ProLUG.asuscom.com. Get dropped into a jail environment and you choose the Rocky, the Hammer, or the Auto servers, right? You pick the environment you want to drop into. Really, you pick it by the course. If you guys haven't seen that before, that's in there. Then we're using this course plan. We're going to explore and talk about things. Then we're going to practice them individually, and then we're going to apply them in a larger scope to like a big project, right? Our project, I don't actually have the project written out anywhere yet, but I was talking to people about it, and what we're going to do is we're going to have on the actual project here, we're going to make the project such that if you are involved with the project, it is going to be we're going to have a centralized Linux Ansible toolbox, basically, and we are going to make our own pieces of that toolbox for the ProLUG environment. So then if you found yourself out there somewhere in the world and you ever needed to pull down the whole toolbox and use that tool Ansible in a certain way, you would have all those component pieces there for yourself. Everything that we can think of that we need for administration and all those kind of things, all the little snippets that we might need, we're going to have in there. And that's going to be our project. Is we're going to work on that as a group, and then we're going to be, at the end of it, we're going to be able to show, if anybody wants to say, hey, did you contribute to some project? You're going to be able to say, well, I built this automation stuff out, and here's my, work with it, and here's what I've done, and you can pull it down and you can show it to somebody. And I think, it may be something that's been done somewhere before. I didn't actually go look around the internet for somebody else to have done something like that, but I thought that it would be a good little project, because what we normally do is we do projects on our own, and then in all these ways we just, we find, I don't want to say people don't end up doing the projects, but that is like a truth. But people also have these individual things then that I honestly don't think, unless you convince a company to look at it before they interview you, I don't think anybody's ever going to look at them again, right? So I kind of want something that is like useful. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. That's kind of where I'm going with that. Julius Caesar, you said plan on attending the 16-week course. Well, that does start today. So that's in about 3 hours or so, a little under 3 hours. So you're welcome to come to that. Vivana, yeah, the automation course should be good. We're going to start out, we're going to cover all our bases today. We're going to talk about, a lot of these things. I've got, a bunch of stuff that we're talking through and where automation and these things fit in, and we're going to go look at these different parts of it. So there's a lot of stuff that kind of comes, with that. Excuse me. And then we're going to kind of look at like all the individual pieces, and I may even add some more of these things into like what we're working on today, because I do want to show some admin stuff and more on the automation mindset. So I do have stuff to add still. S-Wine said, does HR even look at the thing anymore? Yeah, if we're being honest, a lot of the HR stuff in this world, I sit around and I think like, oh, do I tell people the truth or do I give them soft lies? And I don't really like lying to people, so that's pretty much out for me. What I would tell you is anymore nowadays, the thing that I think you're trying to do is bypass silly things that are just looking for keywords and other stuff like that. So if you know those things and can speak to those things, you put those keywords in there in your resume. Get past the filters, and you want to be sitting down before either an engineering team or an engineering team lead and the manager, and then you need to convince them two things. One, that you can do the job, and two, that you will do the job. Those are the two things the manager wants to know. Can this person do the job? Like, are they technically savvy enough to like figure these things out and do it? And then will they do the job? Are they so lazy that they won't even roll out of bed until 10 and can't even get in a meeting on time, and they talk to people and then they never go do the work that they consider, or that they get from those people? Or are they actually doing the job, right? So those are the two things you want to Keyboard Bushido, you said, is the course kicking off today? Yeah, so my time right now is, two things. My time is 2:13 p.m., so in 46 minutes we're kicking off the security engineering course. So anybody that wants to come to that's kicking off in under an hour. These courses are free, right? And they're also recorded, but this will be live. For people that want to come do this, is going to be live with me. I'm going to go through the material. And then we've got the 16-week automation course starting at 5. So that's in about, so what I do is I do this one for a little under an hour, or right around an hour. Then I take a break for an hour, and then we do the new course. This is the new one. So they are both kicking off today. But they're kicking off, one's in 45 minutes now, and one is in 2 hours and 45 minutes or so. Yeah. And then we got all these other things. There's all kinds of stuff going on down the Discord, guys. Discord's free, by the way. We don't charge nothing for it. So, yeah, I got to add some of these. I do want to add just this admin command thing in one-offs, because I do want to speak to that a little bit in the discussion as we're talking about that stuff. Phi Linux, yeah, there's I can pull up a link for you. Hold on. So if you guys are ever in the Discord, it's down here, but I'll link it to you. Yeah, there's here's the playlist for the Linux Security Engineering course. Copy message link. Let's make sure that takes you there. Oh, that's wrong, because that's the message link. I want the, oh, fuck it. Let's grab this right here. Boom. Boom. Once I saw that Discord come up, I knew it wasn't any good. Yeah, that's our 10-week security engineering. Yeah, so that playlist is right here if anybody needs it. There it is on the Twitch, and there it is on the YouTube side. So, yeah, we have all the course stuff is recorded, and the books that the guys have put together are also there for you too. I tell you guys all the time, you could click on these books, you could pull these up like a little cartoon villain. You could stuff it in a sack. You could say, hey, I want to print this thing. And it will take this whole thing and turn it into one big, long, printable book. If you guys have, oops, let's just cancel this real quick. It takes that whole thing and turns it into one long PDF right here. And then you could just say print and print it down to your desktop. Right, I can go right here, print as a PDF, save as a PDF. And it'll tell me I think it's I thought this one was 400 pages, but I might be wrong. But my point is, like, if you guys want to take it and go, you can. Here's what it looks like. How many pages is this? I don't have anything that, like, I'm not going to stop you. 309. I wouldn't stop you if I could, but there's that. There's a bunch of stuff that hopefully links. And if it doesn't, it's not that big a deal. But here's all. Here's how you fork repos. Here's information about the people who contributed to the book. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff in there. But my point is, you could take those if you guys wanted them. You can have an exact copy of them right now. They're free. And they're linked right there in the beginner start here. The discussions, so I'll go over this in the courses too. The course discussions are already live. You guys could start commenting on them now. You got to respond to one. What process? How do you do that? Oh. You just click on it, right? Oh, that's the wrong thing. That's the course. Hold on. So beginner start here. Let me just look at the security engineering one. You would go here. Boom. So here's the security engineering course, right? It's all done in HTML. You would click up here on print, and it would print as a PDF to your system, or in my case, save as a PDF. Boom. and it'll generate a PDF. You should be able to save it down to your system. Yeah, that's the whole course. You might say, why is that in light mode and what I'm looking at in dark mode? Well, because all I did was change the colors here. The guys also added this. So you could look at this in any color you want. Well, any color you want as long as it's one of these. I typically go, I think I'm typically down in like coal, which is like a pretty dark one. But if you like navy, that's a little weird for me. I prefer this coal one, right? So there you go. So yeah, right here, you just hit there should be a little print button for you. And then I imagine that's different on different operating systems, but I'm pretty sure you still should be able to print that to a PDF. So yeah. I tell you guys that all the time. This stuff is all, I mean, this is all community driven. The guys that put this together are all down here. These are the people that built these courses for you guys, right? They're all part of the community, kind of, as it were. All right. Any color as long as you want. Yeah. Well, Phi Linux, that goes back to a joke. If you remember, there's an old joke from Henry T. Ford, right, who made Ford, the big Ford company. He used to say, because he made Model Ts in black. They were black. And people said, can I get the Model T in some color other than black? And he said, you can get the Model T in any color you want, as long as that color's black. That's a famous quote from him. So, like, you can get the Model T in any color you want as long as that color's black. So, yeah. So we're by the way, the guys are going to do the same thing with the automation course, but the book will get built as we go. That's how the security engineering one worked too. The guys were always kind of running behind. The guys were always kind of not running behind. They were running behind me, and I was always running behind on the course. But they were always like filling in behind me and adding more and more to it as we went, making it more accessible for the next group, right? So when we do it this time in 40 minutes or so, and we start the security engineering thing, we'll have that book to reference, and people can just go and grab it and all that kind of stuff. So I will be dropping off here in a little bit because, well, one, I'll probably take a little break before the course, but also, yeah, like the course, we don't record it. The reason I do that is I want people to be candid. I've always done it that way, where especially when we have guest speakers and stuff, I don't record them because I want the guest speaker to be able to talk candidly about whatever topic they want. And some people have concerns, we have people that work for Fang and Mang and all that kind of stuff in our organization, and I want them, if they come to speak to the group, to be able to just work through whatever they're doing. So make versus buy versus adopt. Yeah, there's so many things to work on here. And I'm honestly, the topics for this course, they're going to range from very simple to much more complex, but everything that we do, as with all these courses, they're really just to get you kind of started, and then you could spend more time with the stuff and go, okay, that 8 to 10 hours a week that Scott's been making us do, that's not enough. I need to add more to it. I need to dig in on this stuff more. This first week will probably only be about like 2.5 hours worth of work, if I had to guess, because one, I don't have that much stuff, and two, it's kind of the intro weeks. And if you guys have ever done any college, and this course runs a lot like a college course would, the goal is really to get you in the environment, get you touching the stuff, and then yeah, some people are going to run ahead, some people are going to demand more content and voraciously read it all and stuff, but that's anything we do is going to have that kind of potential. All right, let's go. So we'll look at that. We'll look at all those pieces. We'll make sure that everybody can get access. We'll work through these topics. The course objective. Oh, I need to, in this week's discussion, the course objective is this. So I do kind of need to normally when I do this for like college stuff, I'll put it with the discussions here, but that's going to get a little busy. Let's go see. Hold on. Let's see how it looks. Let's move this down. Could make that one smaller. And then maybe we just move this up to, yeah, this is this week. So this is what we're doing this week. Northern Chimp, you said this is awesome, listening to old streams. Nice. Hopefully they're useful. I vary sometimes between very useful and very useless streams, so you kind of have to filter through them on that. But these type of things, when I record these and turn them into like Northern Chimp, if you watch me over on YouTube, the things I have recorded on YouTube, I try to make them, useful. Like the things that are actually like not just live. Like live, guys, live is give or take, right? We could be messing around like now, or we could be very on topic focused. But like when you see something that I have that's been like uploaded, especially stuff by other people who have came to talk, or when you see me like specific talks like the networking one or some of those other ones, those tend to be very directed and very focused as much as I can make them. Although I have looked back at like the HPC one. I need to redo the HPC one, which I need to update it and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, Phi Linux, I definitely try to make more versions of myself out there, more engineers and more people that are doing this stuff because they kind of found our channel or found the Discord, right, and can hang out. Guys, we're almost to 4,200 people, which is pretty nice. I mean, that's getting up there. That's as far as our group goes, that's pretty good. I remember, man. I remember when I was the only one in the server because I remember I created the server in Discord, but I remember I made it because we had some friends out of town who wanted to do the Linux group with us. So we were like, all right, we'll start a little Discord up, and we can all just hang out in there. Because if you guys don't know, the way this group started was on Saturday nights. Guys that I knew that wanted to get into Linux, I was already working in Linux, would come to my house, bring laptops on Saturday nights, and we would just eat pizza and hang out and do Linux in my front room. Right? We'd build little stuff. I have old worksheets that we used to do and like stuff that we would work on, and guys would be focused on studying for some cert, and we would all dig in on that cert even though we weren't going to take it. We were just helping them study. So yeah, and this group's been going over 11 years now, so it was a good time. Yeah, and it was actually funny when I first got married. We were already running the group when I got married, but the wife was just like, okay, I'm just gonna go out with my girls on Saturday nights, and her girls are, I mean, my wife and I are both older, so it's not like she's out partying or anything. They're out like doing each other's hair and like hanging out and doing whatever bunko and like games and stuff. But sometimes she'd come and hang out with us too and stuff, and I'd tell the guys we can't be so rowdy because now the wife's here. So that's good times. She's also in tech though. She's a help desk person, so that's kind of funny. She's been in help desk for 22 years now, so she retires in 4 years. Yeah, she'll retire at 53. Which is a pretty good age to retire, because then you still got lots of walking around in you. I told her I'm going to retire when she does, and she's like, no, we need to still have health care and stuff. And I'm like, well, I always get that through the VA. And she's like, we need it for both of us. And I'm like, all right, I'll keep working. Well, plus, I mean, engineering is, like, what was I going to be doing anyways? I'd probably be sitting here at my computer playing around anyways. I might as well do it as an engineer and get paid for it, right? And also, I'm never going to stop teaching, so I'll always teach, because college is, I don't know, like, I think it's a good way. Well, on paper, it's the number one way to change your economic status in the U.S. anyways. I can't say that for the whole world, but I know for sure in the U.S. it is. And it's something I think is valuable. It's not the only way to do it, though. Like I tell people, if you're not going to go to college, that's fine. The next best thing is find a group of people doing the same stuff as you and get into it. So saying no to a Saturday night date. Yeah. Well, she wanted to hang out with me all the other nights too, though, so that was okay. Do optional employment someday? Yeah. Or option. It said optional appointments, but I said optional employment. Yeah, that makes sense. Even if I did retire, I would still teach. Like, I'll never stop teaching college. Not that it's like the easiest thing in the world, because there are some things, but it's man, I tell you guys, when I got into tech, and this is true, so this isn't just me like sit around and stay a while and listen or anything. This is just me being Deckard Cain or anything. This is also a truth of engineering. I learned very early on. I remember I was sitting there one day and I go, there's too much of this. There's so much stuff. I will always have to be in a classroom my whole career. That's something I decided. I mean, I remember I was like taking my CCNA, getting my CCNA out of the way when I first started. And I remember going, well, I can either be in the classroom like learning and getting taught by people, or I can go up and be the one who's like leading the class. So I decided very early on, like, I was going to get into teaching so that I could like be the one in charge of the class or whatever. King's Linux automation need prior skill set or learn as you go. I don't think you need a prior skill set, but I would say that you should at least, this is what I always tell people with the courses, you have to at least be able to do these things. Those three things, CD, PWD, and LS, and you need to know the implications of the three. If you can do that, which I think most people that have been doing Linux for a while can, you don't really need anything else. The one thing I say about the automation course, very similar to what I say to people about the security engineering course, is this: I don't hold your hand. There's zero hand holding, and what I mean by that is, it's just like, get in there, do these things, this and this and this. I assume you know how to push your keys over. I assume you know how to connect to a server. I assume all these things that like we couldn't assume if it was just the Linux admin course. And just the Linux admin course, our most base course that's not going to run again until 2026. In that course, I do very much handhold people, and it's very much like, this is a shell. We know because we can echo shell. And then in this shell, we can see the process, you know, and then we can look at that process here. And then we can go and we can see what that process is doing, right? Like I will very much like walk through, and then I will show like, you know, like things that like people that have been doing this for a while. I don't necessarily have to show them that stuff because they've probably done. Now, if you've been in Linux for a little while, you might still not have seen some of these things. But if I were to tell you, oh, these are open files by that process, you would be able to go, oh yeah, okay, no, that makes sense. Okay, these are all the libs, and these are the, okay, that's the terminal that you're in, and that's the, okay, that's the directory that you're actually in right there. Cool. There's its memory locations of the libraries. Okay, I get that. Yeah, I hadn't seen that exact thing before, but yeah, that makes sense, right? But I can't do that kind of. So the question was, you know, do you really need anything to do the security engineering or the automation course? I think that was kind of what I took away from it. And I would tell you no, but if I were to pop this up on screen while we were talking, I wouldn't like dig into it unless somebody asked. Does that make sense? Like, that's what I mean by hand holding. It's not like I would be like, all right, guys, this is a lot to digest. Let's go through it for 10 minutes. I would expect people to kind of blow through it and know. So anyways, that's the only difference between like the very entry level, which is our Linux admin. And honestly, and I kind of feel bad saying this now, but the Linux admin course still kind of assumes that you're going to go and get those skills yourself. Because like we have, I always tell people like all this killer Coda stuff, you know, there's all kinds of killer Coda stuff that's not mine. There's all kinds. These are the ones that I've written or the guys have written. But like all this Linux stuff, I kind of expect people to go do on their own. Our Linux admin course is about doing Linux for a company so that they will hire you and pay you, right? Like we want to get people into Linux administration. So I don't necessarily go show you all this stuff. This is extra. Like, I mean, this is all free. By extra, I mean this is extra to the course. It's I always tell you guys, our courses and all college courses are kind of like the Oregon Trail. If you guys remember the Oregon Trail, you're starting somewhere around Chicago and you're going west, young man, right? And you're bringing your family and you've got this little cart, and if you start as a banker, you have more money. If you start as a farmer, you have less money, right? There's like this whole part of the game. But where I'm going with that, if you guys don't remember that game, is you could go out and do all these other side quests during the game, but the most important part of the game was making it to the Oregon, right? Going all the way over, it's called the Oregon Trail. You need to make it over there so that you can start homesteading or whatever. I loved that game when I was a kid. Yeah. And people would die. Well, so there's a joke. So my dad's name is Terry, if you guys didn't know that. And we would always joke around about, because in the game you die of dysentery, right? But the word would be dissing Terry. So you died of dissing my dad. Yeah. So that was just kind of a funny thing, which is also probably something that me and my brothers could have done, because he was pretty bad. But I mean, I could see him killing somebody for dissing him. So anyway, so this is that's neither here nor there. My point in saying all that is these are all extra things, but they're necessary things, but they're not part of the course. Does that kind of make sense? So, all right. Yeah, they're not like directly related to like what's going on in the course. I would expect people to go spend a lot of time. Yeah, it's supplemental. It's if you guys remember in that game where you could run around and hunt, and then you would just sit there and shoot, and because you started with whoever and you had a bunch of bullets, you would shoot these little animals running around, and then you would have 850 pounds of meat, but you could only bring 200 pounds back to your wagon or whatever. And it's like, well, no, that makes sense. Oh, it thinks I'm talking about. I just looked over and that thing thinks I'm talking about European money. No, I mean poundage. Poundage. Come on. Pounds. LBS. That's funny. This closed captioning is not it's not bad, don't get me wrong, but like when we start talking like very specific things or engineering things, it's fantastically bad. Yeah, the Apple one. I remember those Linux. Like when I was in like 7th and 8th grade, we had those, and we played a lot of Oregon Trail even before that. But then also, there was a game, and I was asking my wife about it. She doesn't remember it, but it was called the Lemonade Stand, and it was on those same Macs. It was on the same Macs, and it was yeah. The CC system I use is built into PowerPoint. I just write it here in PowerPoint. If you guys didn't know, closed captioning. Yep, that's how I do all my closed captioning right there, right in PowerPoint. So, all right. All right. I'm just over an hour. I've got 25 minutes before this little course. Let me set my timer so I don't forget. I always set timers on my phone so I don't forget stuff when I'm messing around with other stuff. But let's say I'm gonna set a 15-minute timer to remind me. So Phil Linux, yeah, like Phil Harmonic. I get it. Phil Linux. I say 5 because, yeah, well, one, I have terrible eyesight. So even with my thick glasses, I can barely see the tiny little... I probably should just make my my text larger for everybody that's talking to me. Yeah, like Infinite Linux. I would go with that too. But this one here, this course is not what I'm going over in a few minutes. The course that we're going over in a few minutes is actually... Oh, actually, you know what? I'm not gonna go over it the normal way. I am gonna go over it that way, but hold on. Let me go back here to Security Engineering course, Unit 1. And the way I'm gonna teach that today is gonna be here. So here's the Security Engineering course, Unit 1. This is what I'll be doing. This is what I'll be doing in a few minutes here. The dates don't matter, right? The dates are ephemeral. They don't really matter. I had it. Well, maybe I'll leave it. It doesn't really matter. That'll always be when we originally did it, right? And then I come over here, and this is, so this is what we're doing this week. But as we go through each of the pieces, I love this image here. If you guys have never seen that image, this is a guy who, his name's Joe Vest. And he drew all of these people doing all of these things, like your IT and the PhD, and they're like, you know, talking about like just this is me working on my PhD right here. Just a bunch of words for the sake of saying words. And then the vendor's selling your CISO on some bullshit, and the security manager and compliance, and this is exactly what my life is like because I've always been the tech lead. So I'm kind of like this guy. And the compliance, which is your GRC team, is sitting there talking to you and running through stuff. And then the C-suite, he's over here going, oh, we're good. Everything's good. Why spend more money? Everything's secure. But then the black hat got in because they weren't looking for him. And one of the things I try to tell you guys, and I'll be emphasizing here in 22 minutes in the course, is that it is what I am trying to show you guys how to do is not to be just a drone. You are not doing security just to check off STIGs. I'm going to show you guys how to do STIGs, right? STIG scoring and that kind of stuff, very important. But the point of it is not to do them just to do them. It is to understand what controls are and why we implement them. So this is the course. But then as we're doing the course, we're going to be going through the book, which is over here. And let me make sure I'm on the right security engineering over here. Let's make sure unit 1 looks good for today, because I will be in this and I will be in this here, right, as I'm talking to the guys. Security 1 has all the things, prerequisites, has some key terms and stuff they need to know. And then here's the worksheet. So here's the things that I think you need to be able to go get to, download. Here's the recording for people that want to see me stig a bunch of stuff. GRC, yeah. You know, Keyboard Bushido, you can probably attest then to the thing that I often tell people. I know a lot of people who over the years have been like, Scott, I'm getting into cybersecurity. I'm moving over into like the GRC team. And I'm like, oh man, a lot of times, and I'm just going to tell you guys, I bet Keyboard Bushido tells us that this is true. A lot of times when you first go over there, you're just a fucking audit monkey. You're just you don't get to fix anything. You really only get to tap guys like me on the shoulder, systems engineers, and say, could you fix this? Could you fix it? So now you're pissed off because like everybody hates you because you're always just giving them more work. And 2, you're pissed off because like you know how to fix it too, but you don't have root. Right? And it's like it's this. So a lot of guys that I know, I've known more people in all my career, almost 25 years doing this. I've known more people to burn out trying to get into cybersecurity, even lateral movements, than you look at spreadsheets all day. Exactly. And I report out from my systems via, I actually have a lab that shows people how to report out via CSV, because that's how you feed management and typically GRC teams as well. And I use Ansible to generate a CSV, and then they can just pull it down as a real file or whatever. So anyways, so let me check this course real quick. So here's our discussion post 1, discussion post 2. They'll be going over that. Definitions, things that we need to talk about and know the standards of. And then digging deeper, reflection, questions, good, okay. And then here's the lab. So the lab, we're going to walk through the lab a little bit. I will jump into Hammer like 5 in the lab. And then do a little pre-lab and stuff, and I'll show the guys let me get my Stig viewer out. Stig viewer doesn't really have a dark mode, so I apologize guys, it's about to blast you. There's not really any way around that. I do have my Stig viewer set up, remove all my filters, so now I have all 452 RHEL 9 Stigs. I know I'm on RHEL 9 Stigs because that's what I have over here. I also can see over here, I should say the Stigs are for RHEL 9. Yeah, here's Red Hat Enterprise Linux 9, which we use Rocky 9, but it's pretty much the same. And then we're going to go through, and this lab is actually going to be MariaDB, so I'll probably show you guys how to do that, and then we'll start building out the server. I know that I can do issues with the book, so I need to get with the guys. And one of the things we're going to do is before we install the MariaDB server, we're going to stop the Werewolf client. Actually, you know what? We might just save ourselves the trouble. Yeah, Maria's not there, and let's see. Let's look at Hammer 5, and he has his host. Oh, wait, no. In the newer version, so hosts and authorized keys, it looks like where's that? It looks like these other things are not being pushed over anymore. let's look at wwctl overlay list runtime. Oops, not runtime, posts, and that has Etsy host. Okay, yeah. So Etsy Pass WD is only getting sent. Where is that getting sent? Probably from the WW client. We don't want. What's this one? WW in it? I just want to see where we're getting those pushed from. There's his kickoff. I might need to change some of this stuff anyways. All right, that's not that big of a deal. Guys, we are one of these days going to do a werewolf cluster. I have a werewolf cluster, but I'm saying I'm going to eventually build it out where I have other werewolf clusters for people. But we'll probably set that to be more of like an admin thing, and I don't know how we're going to run that course, but that's coming later. We're not going to worry about that one right now. We got the course that's in front of us to worry about. So security engineering, yep, do the STIGs, and then we get into. All right, so I think I'm pretty ready to do this one here. There we go. All right. So I'm pretty ready to do this one in front of everybody here in a few minutes. And probably what we'll do is we'll call this here. If anybody wants to join our Discord, you can. You just go hop right down in the old Discord. There it is on the Twitch side. And let me drop it on the YouTube side. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. Well, it costs you your time, right? You got to spend some time at it. But I will, I'll say that we will be down there. I'll be down there for the better part of the next 3 hours. So if anybody needs anything, I'm always in Discord, so you can always ask stuff in Discord. But I do have mods and stuff to help out. So if anybody needs anything, let me know. Otherwise, I will see some of you guys here in the next few minutes or so. Others of you I might see later on tonight, and then we'll work on what we work on. All right, take care, everybody.